Hello and welcome to episode number 100 of the Ride With Me podcast. Listeners, never in my mind did I ever think that I would be saying the episode number 100 when I first started. And I thought, what better time to do something completely special, a major treat for you, giving you something that I've been thinking a lot about doing. You know, forget about those coffee with celebrities and karaoke carpool business. We got a new thing going here. We're gonna do a Ride With Me podcast on the road while interviewing my good friend Tim from Omito Beats. Tim, how's it going?
It's good.
I'm so pumped to have you on this episode, and the main reasons, one of them being the fact that I talk about you a lot in many episodes about some of the coolest things that you're doing. But what's really special to me, and which is why I wanted you on episode number 100, is you and I actually started around the same time.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about doing podcasting for a while. We always do sit downs and share ideas back and forth. One of my big things that I remember learning from you that I made a whole podcast episode around was your belief in the commitment mindset.
Yeah.
And I believe in it so much, Tim. I think that we're 8 months in, maybe 9 at this point, and it's crazy to think about the fact that we've been doing it consistently for a long period of time. Tell me a little bit about the commitment mindset. What does it mean to you, and how are all the different ways, including music, that you've been applying it to your life?
I call it the commitment mindset, and I know that like you and I, like we use this a lot. Basically, I would summarize it like doing something consistently for a year. Like that's my thing. Like I give myself like a year to do something new, and then after a year, I can sit down and really reflect by having a year's worth of like data and years worth of content. And it's a thing that you force yourself to do something each week or whatever. Just stay consistent, stay committed with it, because the next one that you do could be the one that takes off.
It could be the winner. Yes.
Like the next beat that I put out could be the one that goes viral. The next podcast you do could go viral.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know until you keep doing it. So this is just a thing that we kind of formed together just to stay consistent and stay motivated. And I think it's been working really well for us.
I know of a lot of people that have started a podcast much later than we started, and they're no longer active.
Yeah.
Because they've given up. Tim, I gotta tell you, when I first started, I had consistently anywhere between 3 to 5 listeners tops, and I was pushing it hard because I was so excited about my podcast that when I first started, the first, I would say 10 to 30 episodes, I was almost getting no listeners.
Yeah.
I can imagine for how many people that would be discouraging. Like they would say, this sucks, it's not fun, no one's liking my stuff, why bother putting in effort for a few people? But I said, similar to your commitment mindset, is I'm just going to commit in giving those 5 people my best material.
Yeah.
The best I can.
That's
just
good,
making
man.
sure these 5 people get what they can out of it, because they've been riding with me since day one. They're my ride or die.
They're the
right?
OGs,
They are the OGs. So I said, I'm gonna just do my best to provide value for them. And since then, my listener base have skyrocketed. I have so many more listeners now, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that when they go back in my archive and listen to my past episodes, they don't see me shortcutting it.
Yeah.
They don't see me coming with a carefree attitude because I don't think it's gonna work. They see value that I've been catering around those 5 people, so they've started becoming committed listeners. And a lot of people still send me emails saying, I still go back and listen to your old episodes.
The thing is, like, you can't, for anyone doing something new, is you can't expect huge results right away. Like, you can't put one podcast out and all of a sudden it's number 1 on iTunes. It takes time to build that up.
And I don't think you get enough credit for the amount of damage that you've been doing in the music industry in terms of actually helping people out. Right?
Yeah.
To me, in my opinion, you are the OG of what you're doing in the music industry, because a lot of people are trying to do the same thing to get their name out. Here you are saying, I'm going to kill the selfishness, and I'm going to actually spend the time teaching other people how to become just as good as me, and hopefully they get the best value out of it. You've truly become a pioneer in the game. I hope you know that.
Yeah, that's really what I'm trying to do, because I've noticed, I've been making beats and having them online for, it's got to be like 10 years now, like my YouTube channel.
Yes.
It's just, my YouTube channel is 8.5 years old. It just turned like 8 years old this year. And, I've worked with so many people, so many producers, so many aspiring musicians. And, I feel like a lot of them are kind of confused on what to do. Like, for example, if someone writes a rap to my beat and rap over it, what do they do next?
Yeah.
There's a lot of confusion, I feel.
I bet.
And I feel like there's not enough focus on helping people out. You know, I'm going to be real. I feel like a lot of producers just want to benefit themselves, and they just want to sell their beats.
Very self-serving decisions.
Buck,
yes.
Yeah, and just make beats for them. But I want to see, I want to build a community. I want to help out artists. So like, yeah, they'll come back and buy beats from me, but at the same time, they're getting their albums sold and this, and just building the community is what I'm about. And I think that I don't think that there's enough of that right now, so that's what I'm trying to do.
That's amazing. Tell me about how you were able to do something that a lot of people have challenges with, which is at a young age actually moving towards their passion and figuring out what that is.
Like, someone asked me the other week, how long did it take you to reach, I don't know what they said, like 20,000 subscribers? And I honestly had no answer for them, because at this time I was in high school and I was just putting up my music.
Right.
And I wasn't focused on, who's got the most views on a video, how do I sell more beats. I was just focused on doing what I love,
sure,
and then just sharing that with the world.
I get it.
And I think that's the thing that I started so many years ago, but I think that just the fact that I was just focused on the sound and the product of what I do, I think that worked well for me.
Awesome. I want you to pick a song that you truly love, and then explain the creativity behind it. What gets me really excited, and maybe it's because I'm in marketing and I'm a fan of creativity, is understanding the process of what goes through your mind as you bring those creative ideas into your instruments and create this magic. So I just want you to play something you like and bring some magic. And P.S. Carpool Karaoke has nothing on us.
This is like carpool beats.
Carpool beat making or something, We'll make our own show. This might be a segue to our next show.
So I'm going to play this one. This is a popular one. I don't know where your volume is in here.
I got you.
I'll skip into it for a bit.
Okay. It's nice and mellow.
Yeah, that's
like
what a lot. You'll hear like this part here.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah. So with a lot of music, I think that kind of what sets me apart is that I do a lot of upbeat stuff, a lot of fun stuff. A lot of rap music these days is really focused on dark and mellow stuff.
Yes.
And I've always just been about making something that has really good vibes to it, really good energy, right? Although this is kind of like a laid-back beat, it's kind of a bright sound to it, right? So, I've heard so many people write amazing songs to my beats before, and a lot of them say that, they just like how upbeat and positive they can write. Because it's like this song, you can't write a really depressing theme to it,
so
know
right.
what I mean?
Tim, funny story while this song is playing. A friend of mine that does some, he's a bit of a beginner, but he's a bit into the rap scene, and he's been writing his own music. I showed him some of your beats, and he fell in love with your beat. But what I found that was really cool, that when he started writing a few songs to your beat, just to be like, hey, this is an idea I came up with, is your music is so good in creating the flow for the artist.
Yeah.
Right? When he started writing, now he had a very I want to say almost Drake style, where he sings and raps along.
Okay.
But his style was so well aligned to your beats, because you've done a good job in guiding the witness.
Yeah.
You've guided the artist in order to perform the music and the mood that they're trying to get across. Like when I hear that, I just feel pumped right now. Like I'm just excited to get something done.
See, the thing is, I think that I'm like worried about this sometimes and kind of self-conscious. But with my music, I add a lot of melodies into my music.
Right.
And it's because I'm an instrumentalist, so I want my music to be enjoyed by people who write lyrics or people who just don't write lyrics and listen to it, right?
Got it.
Because if it was just a simple beat and then you're just saving it for an artist, what if anyone just wants to listen to this who like us in the car right now, so that's what I just kind of kind of my signature style, and it's always been that. But
bro, this is my jam. Like if we don't talk for the rest of the podcast and we just let this play, I'm okay with this right now. This is hot. Let me ask you a question, Tim. I have a big rule of thumb, which is kind of cliche at this point, I would say, but it's a saying that a painter needs to know when to stop painting. And actually, I think I said this. I wonder if that was a fan honking at you. As I listen to songs like the one we just heard, what's really exciting to me is it makes me think about something that I think I've said in episode 3, and it's episode 100, and you can imagine that it's been this long and I still think about it. It's what I think may even be a cliche saying at this point, but it's a saying that a painter needs to know when to stop painting, which is they paint, but then they're like, am I finished or should I add more to the art? When you're in the situation where you're putting a beat together, how do you know when to finish? Like, how do you know that you shouldn't add one more snare drum, or do something different with the chorus, or even add vocals or sample something? How do you quit and put that music out there and you're satisfied with the work that you just did?
I mean, it's tough because I feel like I'm guilty a lot of times of like overcrowding my beats, and I know that sometimes just the simplest beats can be the ones that, you know, sell the best and that a lot of people like. But for me, I don't know, it's just like I like adding so much to my music, and then I'll get to a point where it's like I don't really know what else I add.
Right.
Because, you know, when I'm like making a beat, I'll make majority of the beat quickly. Like, give me like 15 minutes, I'll have the beat pretty much finished.
Sure.
And then I'll get to that point where it's just like, okay, gotta, you know, set the song structure, do it. And then after a while, I'll just want to start working on the next one.
Got it.
And then when I, you know, because like I'll sit there, and this is what I showed on my Instagram, what you mentioned, how I had all these unfinished beats. That's just because I'm so guilty of making something, and then just like while I'm making it, be like, okay, this one's done, make the new one. Like,
yes.
So it's, for me, it's just like I'm excited to work on the next thing that kind of wraps up the previous one.
And you have to keep it fun for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not loving the game and you're not loving making music and you're not happy with the work that you're putting out there, what on earth is going to keep you going?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what is that
right.
motivation push that you get? To me, it's been interesting because, you know, I shared this story at the very beginning, and the reason I started this podcast is, number one, just knowing how valuable it is to share your message in scale.
Yeah.
You know, in your words, but then putting it out in a large audience. But number two was, I told myself that I would only do this if I found a way to bring the podcast into my lifestyle rather than changing my lifestyle for the podcast. And what I mean by that is, when people decide to enter the podcast game, they decide now that they're going to go out there, buy expensive equipment. They're going to change the way that they spend their day-to-day hours because they need to make some time in the studio to record. Then they need to learn how to edit. Then they need to put it out there in distribution. I said, I'm going to, instead of focusing on changing my way of doing it, I'm just going to introduce it to my lifestyle. So on the flight back from New York City, just before New Year's, I made the decision that for me to make this work in my lifestyle, I need to make it so easy that as soon as I get my message across, I can, by a click of the button, I can get it out there and make it live.
Yeah.
It's a process that I introduced in my life. The processes matter because if you can't simplify the process, and you know this being in the video game, in the music game, if it took you, 48 hours to make a song,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to make a song very often knowing it takes 48 hours, and not to mention doing a lot of tedious things that you don't like doing. A lot of people are scared to try something new because they look out there and they see what everyone else is doing and they think, if I don't do it that way, it's not going to work. But they don't realize that by doing it that way, you're putting yourself in a box.
Yeah,
a box of
definitely.
crayons. You can have different colors, but you're still from the same box. But what if you want to stand out? What if you want to do something different? For all the marketers out there, or for all the people that want to create a brand around their name, or for all the people that just want to be good at Instagram, share some ideas. What do you do that allows you to engage the audience and do such a great job at it?
For me, I just, I'm a strong believer in personal branding.
Yes.
And this is something that I wish I started doing from the beginning. Because when I was making beats, it was like a side hustle, but I wasn't really sharing what was going on in my personal life. I know a lot of producers and musicians are kind of against and kind of scared to show themselves. But my thing is I've been making music for so long. I just want to build that connection with people, and I feel like a lot of people now are more comfortable, hitting me up for beats because they know me, and they're like, yeah, I get so many messages now. It's awesome saying that, people love what I stand for. People love how I'm sharing the positivity. I wake up to text messages from people who I don't know, who got my number off Instagram that say, just want to reach out and connect with you. And I've never had this happen before I started doing this.
Yeah.
So my word of advice to anyone who, you know, just wants to make content is just to be yourself. And just, you know, take people like along on the ride with you. You know, take people into your lives, right?
You know, ask them to take a seat and buckle up and let them know that this friendship is on a long ride. I actually came to a very challenging moment, which I've never articulated on the mic. You know, I was getting burnt out to a point where I wasn't excited about doing podcast episodes, and because I committed to doing it 3 times a week, I felt like it felt like a task to me.
Yeah.
It felt like, man, I gotta get in my car and hit the microphone and get something and think of a topic, and sometimes I don't know what I want to talk about because it's tough dropping 3 different conversations every week. And I decided to just take off and go on a break and reset myself. But what was even more fun is downloading tons of podcasts and listening to it, and actually stopping myself from pouring content instead of taking in content. Like you do with music, I did it with podcasts. And when I was in the cottage with my friends, and I was out on the lake on a kayak, and I had some headphones on, I was excited to get back home and start podcasting again because I was refreshed and I was inspired. And when you have those 2 ready to go, along with a little bit of action, it's crazy what you can come back with. And I'm sure you've been experiencing that with music.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think burnout is real, especially for beat makers. Like, I know, you know, I sold my first beat like 8 years ago. Like, it's been a super long time that I've been doing kind of the same thing for so many years. So burnout is definitely real, and I feel like it's a reason why a lot of music producers and beat makers will quit because they're burnt out.
I have a saying that I said a few episodes ago, which was, you know, what if your definition of success was supposed to happen in the year 2021, but you decided to give up in 2018, right? The month comes around and it's hitting December, and you wave the white flag and you say it's not meant to be. But what's really cool about the way you do it, Tim, is you keep throwing great material out there. You're A game. You don't shortcut it. You don't half-ass it. You put out your best work every single time. And if those opportunities, i.e. making a beat for Drake, comes up, you're going to take it. If not, you're not phased. You're not thrown off. You're back on the grind because you know that you just got to get up to bat as many times as you can, because that one is going to be that home run hit for you, and that's going to be a big one. You know, in the music game, what were those hints that life was showing you that made you realize that you were on the right path?
Mine was probably just, you know, realizing that people were listening to my music. Like, I put out music on YouTube for a long time. And then eventually, you know, I got to the point where people would comment on my stuff. And then that's how I know people are listening to it. Yeah. But, you know, I'm learning how to make beats. I think I made, like, it would have been like 1,000 beats before I sold my first one.
Is that right?
I don't know the exact number, but it was a ton of beats. Yeah, I've made like thousands and thousands of beats to where I am today. And you just, you know, eventually you get to a point where if you keep putting out dope content long enough, people catch on.
Yes. And that's the key phrase. Like, if this episode needs to be just called dope content. I love that. I think that's powerful.
I just always tell people that. Just keep putting out dope content, and eventually, if you do it consistently, people catch on.
Tim, thank you so much
thank you for
being
me,
part of episode number 100.
That's awesome.
This was a big one. This is a massive, monumental move. Listeners, when I started on January, and I hit the record button on my microphone for the first time, just on my cell phone device, I didn't know where this was going to go. I didn't know how long it was going to work. Hell, I didn't even understand the process of how to get an episode out. I just knew that there was a lot of good ideas that I've experienced, a lot of awesome people like Tim that I know could provide insight through these episodes, and I decided to give it a shot. And everything has changed the day I hit that record button. So whatever it is, whatever that record button is for you, be it picking up a drum kit for the first time, be it picking up a pen and writing a book, a word for the first time, be it getting up on stage and sharing your first story for the first time, take action and give that a shot. And one day you'll be doing it for 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, and you'll be sharing the story about how it was that one day, that one step that you did that allowed you to bring this to life. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing one, and we'll talk soon. Take care. the reality is a lot of people that get into the podcast game that I personally I've seen we lost our camera, but we're gonna keep this rolling because why not? Grabbing the phone from my cup holder here. I would love for you to just open up Spotify and play a couple of your beats. Share some of the talent and actually walk me. I want you to actually talk over the beat and walk me through what goes through your mind when you put a beat together and why it is that you love it as much as you do. We're gonna have to edit that one out, or we're gonna get
Russ
is gonna take me out of business with that one.